The ISA and private pension markets are worth hundreds of billions, if not trillions, and this is for good reason. These accounts are some of the most powerful savings vehicles in terms of growing your wealth in the UK. They can literally allow you to retire decades earlier than you otherwise could have. But the intricacies of pensions and ISAs can be quite complicated. There are many different options and we aren't taught about them in school, despite the importance of them. And that's perhaps why just 17% of us are making use of our ISA allowances, or some of our ISA allowances each year. But today we're hopefully going to be clearing some of that up, have a look at the different tax implications and have a sort of face-off between ISAs, individual savings accounts, and a self-invested personal pension, which is a type of pension account usually abbreviated to a SIPP. So both of these accounts are something you or I can set up. For example, everyone's favourite low-cost provider, Vanguard, has both options. So you can invest in exactly the same funds in each type of account, but the way you contribute towards them and then withdraw from them work quite differently, which can result in different outcomes, which will potentially mean more or less money for you. So today I'm not going to list every single technicality of the accounts because many will know most of them, but if you don't worry, there are plenty of good guides that I'll link down below. But today I want to directly compare them and how contributing and withdrawing from them really works with real numbers, so you have a better idea of which one is better for you. There are, of course, workplace pensions as well, which I won't be talking about, which your employer will likely match or match up to a certain point your pension contributions, and there's no if, buts or maybes about these accounts.
Now you see, I'm talking facts here. I don't do if, buts and maybes. I do absolute. What I'm trying to say.
They're 100% worthwhile and should be used wherever possible. It is literally free money, but often they're not enough on their own. So people look for additional places to grow their savings and pensions, which brings us to the two types of accounts we're going to be having a look at today. So ISAs and pensions both shelter assets from tax, and interest on bonds payout or any dividends and capital gains shares returned to you. So while your assets are in the account, you won't be paying any tax on any growth. So we know with our ISAs we have a £20,000 limit per year across all our different ISA accounts, and you can open one type for each account each year. And savings you put into ISAs have already lost a slice of income tax because this is money you're stashing away after the taxman has had his cut. But this means that withdrawals from ISAs are not taxed. So you can withdraw what you want when you want and you won't be taxed for that. And meaning that you're taxed on the way into your ISA but not on the way out. And this is the other way round for SIPPs. So SIPPs form part of your £40,000 pension contribution limit each year, and that does include employer matches from the workplace scheme you might have. So savings into pensions are not taxed. So when you add the money into the account, you'll receive tax relief on your contribution. So if you're a basic rate taxpayer, a £800 deposit will mean £1,000 after the tax relief. And if you're a higher rate taxpayer, so any earnings over 50,000, you can claim back an additional 20% through self-assessment. So you're getting tax relief of 40% in total. But then when you come to withdraw pensions, they are taxed at the standard rate of income tax. And you won't be able to access these pension funds until you reach the minimum pension age, which is currently 55, but that's looking like it's going to increase to 57 from 2028. So pensions are therefore taxed on the way out of the account, but not on the way in like ISAs. And this is the main difference in a nutshell. Taxed at the start or at the end, which seems simple enough. So why do we arrive at quite different incomes in retirement? So say when you're 60, you've retired and you withdraw 20k from your pension, you'll have to pay tax on that just as if you were working somewhere, and pay tax on any income above the tax-free personal allowance. So the tax-free personal allowance, for anyone that doesn't know, protects the first 12,500 of your income from income tax. That may rise in the future, but that's what it is at the moment. So any earnings under that, you don't pay any income tax. So of that 20k withdrawn from the pension, only £7,500 of that is taxed. And this is a very important point because this is what causes the main difference in post-retirement income. but essentially you can get more tax relief when paying it in than your tax reliability on the way out. A 40% taxpayer can earn 40% tax relief on pension contributions now, but may only be taxed at 20% or even 0% if under the personal allowance when they retire. So the money you're putting into an ISA, you've already lost between 20 and 45% through income tax, depending on how much you earn. So that was very simply about how the tax relief works on different accounts, but let's dig a bit deeper into that and see how it actually affects the size of your pot and then your income once you retire. So imagine I put £8,000 into an ISA while Sam drops the same amount into a SIPP. So after tax relief at 20%, Sam puts £10,000 annually because £8,000 is 10k pre-tax. So the taxman gives you back that money and adds it to your pension pot. And as he's a basic rate taxpayer, if he was a higher rate taxpayer, he would get even more than that. Let's say these investments both grow at a rate of 5% over the next 20 years. Perhaps that's slightly conservative or perhaps not given the high valuations in markets. But anyway, in 20 years' time, Sam's SIPP will have 361,875. Meanwhile, my ISA pot will have just shy of £300,000. So nearly a 70k difference over the course of just 20 years because Sam and his SIPP bonuses, which I wasn't getting with my ISA. Now, if Sam's entire SIPP income was taxed at 20%, then it would be the same as my ISA income. But Sam isn't taxed on the entire amount because of the tax-free personal allowance we mentioned earlier. So my annual income from the ISA, assuming a 4% withdrawal rate, is just under £12,000. And that 4% is widely regarded as a safe withdrawal rate, and that's been back tested against market conditions to stop you from running out of cash and maintaining the size of your pot. But I'm not taxed on any of this because it's been withdrawn from my ISA, so I can withdraw what I want when I want and I will not pay any income tax on that. So Sam's SIPP annual income pre-tax is £14,475, assuming that same 4% withdrawal rate. He is, however, liable for some tax in this case, but most of it falls under the personal allowance. He's only taxed on a relatively small portion of that, about £2,000. So Sam's net annual income, so after tax, is £14,094. So Sam's net income is 16% larger than mine, despite having contributed exactly the same amount over our lifetimes. And that is quite a powerful result, and it shows you that tax relief you can access through a pension pot can lead to significantly higher income. But there are a few big buts and a few caveats that we need to mention. So if you aren't looking to retire until the state pension age, which for me is currently 68, that's currently lower, but the earnings for your SIPP will be liable for more tax because the state pension will be added to your earnings, meaning you're liable for more tax. So that 16% higher income Sam receiving will be reduced but not completely eliminated. So ISAs also have the huge advantage that they aren't locked away. So the minimum age for private pensions is currently 55, so you aren't able to access your SIPP funds until you reach that age. But that is increasing to 57 by 2028 and may well increase again in the future, and ISAs don't have that sort of uncertainty, which makes it better if you want to be retiring extremely early or you think you'll be needing to access the funds in one large sum before that retirement age. With SIPPs, you do have the ability to withdraw 25% of the whole pot and pay no tax whatsoever on that lump sum when you reach that minimum pension age, which, as we said, was 55 moving to 57. And that money can be recycled into other pension schemes or ISAs, but I won't be going into detail on the technicalities on that today because that's a whole nother story. But to summarise, it's clear that they do have pros and cons, and the self-invested personal pension clearly has the ability to deliver larger returns on your money, especially if you're a higher rate taxpayer. But then again, it doesn't have the same flexibility as an ISA. And as we said, what we do with this information is dependent on what we want from our savings, which is largely unknown because we don't know when we're going to be retiring, if it's a long way off or not. And we don't know what future policy, future government policy will be like, which of course could change the benefits of both and our post-retirement income. So there's no one best account, it just depends depends on what you're looking for, and hedging your bets, doing the boring thing as per usual, is probably going to be the best approach. Investing in a mixture of ISAs and SIPPs is probably going to be the best way forward. And as I said, making use of employer contributions is an absolute must, but that's not an option for everyone if you're self-employed or don't have a job. And while I'm a student, I'm not currently contributing to a pension because I've got other goals at the moment, like trying to max out my lifetime ISA and also other ISA savings. And that's just what's working for me at the moment because I'm looking to get onto the housing ladder in the near future. So that is currently my priority, and it may well be yours. So don't feel bad if you're not contributing to a pension yet. There is time. But as always, the earlier you start, the better it's going to be. So until next time, thank you for watching.